Hello, everyone. I'm going live with a shooting, an active shooter at Emory University. Already one person, an officer, has been shot. It's a very fluid situation. Let me get up on the screen with the news.
On the scene, as I mentioned, this turned into a multi-jurisdictional situation as police work
So
to
this is
hopefully
Fox from
wrap up,
Emory.
which has been a very
Um,
volatile
this is
scene,
the
which has
area
been
where the
unfolding for a
CDC
good
is, the
part of the
Center for the
past 90
Disease
minutes here.
Control.
That's right. And just to recap how
Unknown
this all
why they were
started,
targeted.
it
Let's
came
hear
in
the
just after
recap.
5 with an alert from Emory University. Close proximity to the scene where this is happening at the CVS at Emory Point just after 5 o'clock. An alert was sent out by the university telling people that there was an active shooter situation and to run, hide, fight. It was then that we started to see this massive law enforcement presence focusing around the building. At one point, we saw officers with guns drawn. They were taking cover behind a dumpster there as they focused in on the building. And here's a map just showing you an overhead view to really just highlight what we're looking at here. There at the top left of your screen is Emory Point. That is where the CVS is. This is where it appears to have all happened. And then just across the street, the CDC headquarters, and then also a stone's throw is Emory University's campus. So all of these things just intertwined. And also just a few minutes ago, our Deidre Duke said that she is hearing from her law enforcement sources that there may be multiple scenes involved.
I mean, if you've ever driven in this area, especially in the morning, you might have an appointment at Emory University, a doctor's appointment, or something going on there. You know how busy this area is. I mean, there is traffic along the Clifton Road corridor at all times, and that CVS services a really busy area of Dekalb County, the North Druid Hills area, where you have people coming out of the hospital or the doctor's offices. You have people living in that community, which surround the CVS. You have the Centers for Disease Control, which, given that this happened just before 5 o'clock this evening, many of the regularly scheduled employees would have been letting out at this time. And we showed you the pictures not too long ago of the bullet impacts on the windows of the CDC building. And we can only presume, based on the height of the office that we were looking at here, that it was in that main building there. This is a picture that somebody from
A lot of confusion right now, not a lot of information out there. This happened just after 5 p.m. What we are getting is that the shooter, but they don't know if there's one shooter or multiple shootings. They're saying there's multiple scenes. They're saying the shooter was shot dead. We don't know how many other injuries there are at this point.
Inside the CDC sent us of the impact of that bullet. We just don't know if the CDC was a target. In other words, we don't know if guns were trained on this building. These long rifles have the ability to impact things pretty significantly. So whether it was targeted or not, we just don't know at this point. But we're getting reaction from the governor at this point, Governor Brian Kemp, who released a statement saying that twice this week, deranged criminals have targeted innocent Georgians. Each time, brave first responders rush toward the danger to subdue the shooter and save lives, reminding us of just how crucial they are. Marty, the girls, and I are thankful to all those who answered the call to serve and who protect their fellow Georgians. We ask that you join us in holding them in our prayers, along with those harmed this evening near the CDC center. That from Governor Brian Kemp, who obviously has been very keyed into this whole situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, something we've been talking about is that green roof line right there, you see right there on the right-hand side of your screen, that is the daycare center that is attached in a way to the CDC campus. And we had it confirmed that those shots that were fired that hit a window in the building hit building 24, which is directly behind where this daycare center is located. Still not confirmed whether there were children there at the time, but again, the hours that they typically operate according to their website extend until 6 o'clock tonight. So just a really scary situation, to be sure, if there were in fact children in that daycare center.
You can see a police presence there, still on the roadway at Clifton Road.
Unknown how many injuries there are right now, unknown how many people were shot. All we're getting is that the shooter is dead. An officer was shot at the Emory Point CVS, but the information is just trickling out right now.
Our Eric Perry has been posted, if you will. He was one of the first reporters on the scene. Eric, you've been giving us some tremendous perspective of the police response there and the robustness of police presence in emergency vehicles. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, Tom, hello. So I made that pilgrimage up that hill there to get closer to the scene with my photographer, Scott Simpson. Take a look here, an immense presence here by law enforcement officers from all over Metro Atlanta. Of course, you have Atlanta police here on the scene, but you have Dekalb. You also have Chamblee, Brookhaven. I see Sandy Springs from each and every corner. And I have seen representatives from the FBI here on the scene as well. So I'm going to direct my photographer. I want to take them all the way up. Do you see where that number 2 is at that red light there? Take a look at that scene. That is to the left is where that CVS is. A lot of the action is focused, it seems like, there. On that scene, there are apartment complexes that are above that CVS. And of course, there are different businesses as well. You can see police tape. And of course, I believe that is a SWAT unit. I saw a Dekalb County SWAT unit racing up through here earlier as well. Then let's take them out. If you see some Grady ambulances as well to the left, you can see a huddle, probably the command unit, but still a very active scene here on this area. And then closer down is still a sea, and there's still people coming in, swapping out as they're getting ready for that press conference not too far from here as well. Just a perspective, this is probably about half a mile, maybe a little bit further than half than Briarcliff when you're coming up to Clifton. On the opposite side is that entrance to the CDC Center is where you can really see a lot of that as well. You can see an ambulance turning around. I'm not sure if there's anyone in it or if they're preparing anyone to be transported inside, or if they're just mobilizing and parking that to the side. But there is still an immense presence here. And you can still see a helicopter, which I believe law enforcement helicopter. I don't believe that is one of our news helicopters, pretty close to the ground, that's still been circling around this area as well. They are still telling people, if you have to come to this area, you need to find somewhere else to go. This will last 4 hours. It is safe to say here closer to the scene. Tom, Courtney, I just wanted to walk you through what we're seeing as we had an advantage closer to Briarcliff, but now we're able to really get an eyes from the ground view here as well. So a lot happening behind me.
Important that you mention, Eric, that just because the situation has been neutralized in terms of the possible shooter, that as you mentioned, the investigation is really just beginning. So it's anyone's guess how long this, as we said, busy corridor of Clifton Road linking Briarcliff to Emory University is going to remain shut down.
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned that. So where I was earlier, where I wasn't able.
Not a lot of information about casualties, fatalities, other than the shooter apparently is dead. He's yet to be identified. There was an officer shot, unknown what his condition is. We're expecting a press conference pretty soon, and hopefully we'll get some information out then.
To go up any further, there were people there who lived in that apartment complex. They sent out some kind of coordination saying, it's not, you can't come in. They're not going to let you in and out, even if you do live there. I also, on my walk up, I passed by a couple of express buses. So this happened around 4 o'clock. Many of those buses coming in, taking those workers who live here at CDC or maybe Emory University or that hospital. Several of those buses are just parked to the side there. They can't go up any further, and they're kind of stuck in this scene here for quite some time. Not sure if there were anybody on those buses, but I saw those bus drivers standing up. Hey, Scott, do me a favor, get ready. If you can, take it off for me and point back through there. You can see a procession of what looks like SWAT vehicles coming up through here, just showing that people are still coming in and out as well. So that looks like a pretty big truck that's going to be parading up to this scene as they just add on to the dozens of law enforcement officers that are already up here as well. I can't tell it from this distance who they belong to, but just to show you that they're still just getting started. started. More police vehicles are coming in. I believe that might be Atlanta police, but of course they are starting to come in, and let's see if where they park those vehicles here. We'll keep an eye on it, Tom, Courtney, but I just wanted to show you that before I left.
Remarkable to see that law enforcement continues to arrive on this scene now 2 hours almost into this developing situation, Eric. And just in the last 2 minutes, we're seeing an alert sent out from Emory University. They're saying a police emergency continues on the campus at Emory Point. Avoid the area now. Shelter in place has been lifted. So just kind of holds together with what we were seeing just about 20 to 30 minutes ago, where they were saying this is still very much an active situation.
I think at this point, they just want people to stay away as this investigation.
Folks, we're also hearing that there were multiple locations. We're not getting a lot of information, but they're saying there's still SWAT vehicles coming into the area. Could they be checking for booby traps? Could they be checking for devices? Could they be checking for potentially other shooters before they clear this whole area? Not a lot of great information coming out right now. Very confusing. A lot of police personnel and police vehicles are on the scene.
Continues to unfold. This is a traffic camera, we believe, on Clifton Road, which showing a still active police presence. Given the high-profile nature of where all this happened, and the fact that we have an officer shot and another person, at least one other person, injured by gunfire, and here we have the Centers for Disease Control right across the street. This is going to be an investigation, Russ Spencer, that takes quite some time.
No doubt about that, Tom. I've been sitting here at the live desk watching this very camera. It's a G-dot camera, as you point out, at Clifton Road and CDC Parkway. On the bottom right of your screen right there is a SWAT vehicle, an armored vehicle that pulled up about 10 minutes ago and is right next to that body under the sheet. Whether they're going to remove that, we don't know. But everything that we're witnessing seems to confirm what Deidre Dukes has reported, that the shooter is dead, that there are multiple scenes. Perhaps that refers to the fact that multiple CDC buildings have bullet holes in them, appear to have been shot at. And as we look at that top left of your screen there, that G-dot camera, I'll report to you that about 10 minutes ago, I saw at least 24 police officers go down CDC Parkway toward the daycare center that Courtney has been referencing. Whether they weren't running, there was no urgency other than the fact that they were a phalanx of at least 24 officers who went down CDC Parkway toward the CDC, perhaps to investigate these buildings having been shot at.
Yeah, Russ, and you have to wonder, and I was going to ask Eric Perry about this, and it's unfair really to ask you, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud, and perhaps you can do that with me. What became of the employees inside the CDC who hadn't left for the day yet, or the people that might live in that apartment building above the CVS drugstore?
In these situations, because there's multiple locations, it's very tough to get everyone on the same page, to get the information out, both to law enforcement, which is the most imperative, so that they know what and who they're looking for, what's going on. What we're hearing right now is that apparently the shooter has been killed. An officer was shot. I'm not sure of his condition. We're not getting any reports on how many other people may have been shot in this incident, just that there is multiple locations.
Or, as Courtney mentioned, perhaps there's still children inside the daycare. I mean, there's just so much happening on Clifton Road, and are people sheltering in place? Are they being allowed to leave CDC for the day, leave work? It's Friday afternoon, and
right. Well, I have some new information, Tom, that was just handed to me here at the live desk from Dekalb County Government Communications, which will offer some comfort to people who live in the area. Law enforcement currently responding to an incident involving an armed individual on or near the Emory University campus in Dekalb. The situation is contained. and there is no active threat to the public at this time. This, again, from DeKalb County Government Communications. We are asking all residents and members of the campus communities to remain indoors as a precaution while the investigation continues. Out of an abundance of caution and in the interest of public safety, we are also requesting news media outlets. Well, that's what happens with phones. It turned off to move out of the way. So there you go. But that's the
most
confirmation.
important information out
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, that'll be reassuring information for people in that area who may be wondering, is my window?
So you heard that apparently they're saying that the emergency is over. There's no further lockdown, but this incident absolutely is not over. It's still ongoing. And so far, what we know is the shooter has been neutralized, killed. An officer was shot. We don't know how many other, if there are others shot, we don't know how many. Let me go to another news station.
We can also replay the scanner in a little bit to see what was on there. I heard some things on the scanner earlier.
Right now we don't have any signs of any more victims. Right now, they're just clearing right now. Tell them just to hold back there. If we need them, we'll get them through. They've been advised to, they're a special tactical medic team. They've been advised that they need to go to the command post. So they're already on their way. God.
So again, very confusing, not a lot of information coming out. We were told that there was going to be a news conference shortly. The building that's in the area of concern is the Center for Disease Control. We don't know if that building was targeted by the shooter or not, but this is on or near the
It
campus.
sounded on the scanner
the
like they
university.
might have said something like, "We're not finding any more victims at this point." I'm not sure about that. Kind of sounded like something like that.
I wouldn't report things that sound like, you got to just report things that are, in fact. Again, we're not getting a lot of information. Let me go back to Fox that's live now. So you understand all the confusion at situations like this. There's a daycare center on the scene. Folks want to know right away how is their child? Where is their child? Can they go get their child? So much law enforcement on the scene, but still not a lot of information. Or you just said on the screen, you said the shooter is dead and an officer was shot at. We don't know what his condition is. Is he wounded? Outside the DeKalb County CVS. A building of concern on the location is the CDS, the Center for Disease Control building, but not a great deal of information right now. It's dribbling out, and hopefully we'll get more information as the situation gets calmer. It calms down and they hold a press conference.
Eric, people really aren't being allowed through that scene yet. I mean, they still have it blocked off, whether you have a kid that might be in the daycare center or not. We can presume that the parents have been communicated with that their kids are okay. But you can imagine that, you know, the frayed nerves out there is they just want to give their child a big hug and thank the Lord that they weren't involved somehow in this melee, this fatal melee that happened earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, he was just really grateful to get that message. He said that his child was going to be okay. Our Kim Luffler, who is at the hospital, she sent in an email of a screenshot because where that CVS is, which is on the other side, that there are different studios. There's an Orange Theory there. There are eateries there. There's a ballet studio there. They've been canceling classes because, as you can see, no one's able to come in. And I haven't seen a lot of people leaving this area as well. So if you have any type of business that's up there, you can expect those canceled classes, those canceled reservations. They're not letting anyone near that scene, Tom. This is as close as we've been able to get, and those on the other side of the tape, they're not going to be able to get any closer to that CVS or really this area.
Yeah, it's been a literal blockade, if you will, Eric, as we can see from the perspective of your camera there, and being one of the first reporters there on the scene in the early going, you just fired up your cell phone and you showed us what was going on in the early moments after this shooting unfolded just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. To give you a quick recap, just located within a mile of our studios here at Fox 5 and directly across the street from the Centers for Disease Control, at least one gunman opening fire there at the CVS drugstore, which is located feet away from the CDC, just across the street. We know that that suspect is dead. We saw from our helicopter earlier the body being brought out of the drugstore underneath a white sheet. We know that at least one civilian victim and one police officer have been transported to Emory University Hospital, which you could walk to from the CVS drugstore there on Clifton Road to be treated. We heard something about surgery involving the officer. We're working to learn more information about that. We are expecting a news conference from officials from the Kroger parking lot, which if you've driven Clifton Road, you know that there's an uphill to the CVS from Briarcliff. Well, Kroger's just downhill from that area and very close in proximity to where all of this unfolded.
Yeah, this is all happening, of course, in an area that is just highly populated, densely populated with, as Eric mentioned, dance studios, restaurants. There are apartments on the upper levels in that same Emory Point Center where the CVS is located. And so now we're understanding that that shelter-in-place order has been lifted and that the threat has been neutralized. Good to report that the children who were in the daycare center that's on the CDC campus are okay. Our Eric Perry is there and talked with a father who's still waiting to pick up his child, but sure to be a relief for him and many other parents who are still waiting to pick up their kids. Although it might take some time as there are so many streets that are blocked off with this massive police presence that's still there in the area.
And so a couple of elements that we got into the Fox 5 newsroom, one of them was a gunshot that struck the CDC headquarters building across the street. And we know of at least one impact here. Take a look at that. And if you can see out the window how high that bullet went before it impacted the window there. These are obviously impact resistant windows. And so the bullet, as far as we know, didn't penetrate the window, but we know that buildings 21 at the CDC, 24, and perhaps building 18 were impacted by gunfire. What we still don't know is if that was an intended target or was just this a lunatic on the loose inside the CVS drugstore.
But again, as we've talked about, it's hard to believe that a bullet could be a stray bullet striking that high and on a building that's across the street from the CVS where the shooter, we understand, was located. Here is what Governor Brian Kemp is saying in reaction to the shooting. He said this: twice this week, deranged criminals have targeted innocent Georgians. Each time, brave first responders rushed toward the danger to subdue the shooter. and save lives, reminding us just how crucial they are. Marty, the girls and I are thankful for all those who answer the call to serve and who protect their fellow Georgians. We ask that you join us in holding them in our prayers, along with those harmed this evening near the CDC Center. So Governor Kemp obviously referring to that shooting we saw at Fort Stewart earlier this week, in which 5 soldiers were shot by their fellow soldier. Thankfully, those soldiers pulled through. They were injured, of course, but also the CEO of Dekalb County is also responding to this situation. Here's her statement. My thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by today's incident on the Emory campus. I am grateful for the swift and coordinated response from our law enforcement agencies and first responders. We are closely monitoring the situation and will provide updates as they become available. She says this: I urge everyone to stay alert, remain indoors, and follow official guidance as we allow law enforcement to complete their investigation. So we continue to see this very large police presence there in the area. You see them still lining the street up and down Clifton Road. That is the street that...
When this investigation is completed or when they have more information, it remains to be seen whether this was actually an active shooting incident or was it something else. I'm not conjecturing, it could be, because we're not getting a lot of information. And apparently we know that the shooter has been neutralized, and a police officer and one other apparently has been shot. Again, not a lot of information about that either at this time.
Provides the CVS there on the left. You can see the daycare center that we've been referring to there on the right on the CDC campus. And our Eric Perry, who is there on the ground, said just a few minutes ago he saw a SWAT vehicle head in the direction of the CDC campus with some of their SWAT team members there on the back of the truck.
And we mentioned, Courtney, you pointed out earlier that there's a daycare center right there, just feet away from where all of this unfolded. We saw some concerned parents waiting there, perhaps to collect their children. We know that that wasn't involved in this situation, mercifully. So we showed you the element where the bullet, presumably from a long rifle, hit the CDC. I want to play for you, and if we still have that sound in the control room, I'll give you a second to cue that up. What we heard in the moments when all of this unfolded, we heard the warning sirens wail earlier, and we caught some sound of that in the early stages of all of this unfolding. Listen to this. That was an alert siren put out in the CDC area. This is the backyard of Fox 5, just to give you an idea of how close we are to where all of this unfolded and why our reporters were among the first there on the scene to report on what was going on in the early moments of when all of this chaos and confusion unfolded there in the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC. We know that gunman has been neutralized, is dead, and we know that 2 casualties, including at least 1 police officer, have been transported to Emory University Hospital to be treated.
Yeah, and this quick update here from Atlanta Police. They're now saying that the incident involved a single shooter who is now deceased. 1 law enforcement officer was injured, as we know. Let's get out to our Eric Perry. He's been standing by there on the ground. Eric, what's the latest there?
Yeah, so you mentioned that I saw some SWAT officers on the back of a truck. They went into that CDC as well. I've been messaging several of my sources who work at the CDC. One of them told me they left right before all of this happened, but several of their colleagues are still inside. So we can maybe presume that maybe they're going to do a sweep inside that CDC to get those people out safely. But this all happened as people were wrapping up working for their work day here on a Friday. But I'm told that there still are people inside of the CDC that were still sheltering in place, still on lockdown. So it is safe to presume that maybe they're going inside to bring them out safely. I'm looking over. I saw that father who was standing right there. He went to the other side there. I'm not sure if he got any new information or maybe was able to be reunited with his child there. But again, we are learning that there's still several employees that might still be inside that CDC sheltering in place during all of this. And I'm asking to see just exactly what that siren was. Did that come from the CDC or was that something that Emory implemented as well? So we'll work to get that information for you, Courtney and Tom.
All right, great reporting there, Eric Perry, one of the first reporters on the scene there, letting us know that there are still employees inside the CDC headquarters, waiting to go home on a Friday night, thanking God that they're safe, but probably anxious to get home to their loved ones and give everyone a big hug. Fox 5's Russ Spencer out in the newsroom collecting more information. Russ, what do you know?
Well, Tom and Courtney, you've done an excellent job recapping how all of this unfolded. I just want to add some perspective from the very beginning of this at 5 o'clock when we had Sky Fox over the scene. You talk about an active shooter situation. There were Dekalb police officers huddled behind their vehicle that was riddled literally with dozens of bullets. This was the scene earlier as they came up into that parking lot, and this is what I'm talking about, hiding behind that vehicle. Do you see all the bullet holes in the windshield and in the front of that vehicle? That was the confrontation. So as we reflect on this, the active shooter situation is over. Again, the shooter has been neutralized, but this could have been a lot worse because that person was armed and ready to go and had a large weapon. We'll keep that officer in our prayers and keep you up to date as we learn more about his condition as he's in surgery as we speak, and the civilian for that matter. Tom and Courtney, back to you.
Yeah, you said it, Russ. This could have been so much worse, especially with more students in the area. If this had happened in a few weeks, there would have been a lot more people on the campus as classes would have started for the fall session. So as we continue to learn more details, it'll just paint the picture of maybe what was avoided here. And we are awaiting a news conference that should happen at any moment at the Kroger. And there it is. You can see the setup for it. I'm sure we'll find out more about at least what police are willing to share with us at this point. It is, of course, early in their investigation.
Yeah, we'll be very curious to know more about the deceased suspect here and his motives, obviously, his or her motives, what led up to all this, and the conditions, most importantly, of the officer who was shot and the other victim, who we understand are both being treated at Emory Hospital. At this time, we're going to take our Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that's going to be quite an event. So we know our viewers are going to be keyed into that. Meanwhile, we're going to continue to monitor this situation unfolding at Emory because there's still a lot of moving parts and so many unanswered questions.
So many unanswered questions. And of course, if you're a parent like this man that Eric Perry has been talking with, you're just desperate to get reunited with your child. But that's a huge relief to know that all the kids are safe there at that daycare center. Of course, residents, might be relieved who live in this area as well now that that shelter in place has been lifted. But this is a scene that I'm sure will stay in place for quite some time as police have to gather the evidence and just kind of wrap things up there after the threat has been neutralized. But again, Atlanta police now confirming that there was only one shooter involved in this and that person is deceased. One Dekalb County officer shot, multiple shots fired there at a police vehicle. Someone has been transported to Emory University Hospital. And again, we're going to continue to stay on top of this situation on Fox Local and on fox5atlanta.com. And again, we will direct you here.
So again, there's not a lot of information out there. There's supposed to be a press conference shortly, and we'll definitely go to that as soon as the press conference becomes live. But the active shooter, if that in fact is what occurred here, has been neutralized. An officer and one other victim has been shot, and the officer apparently is in surgery at this point. Just a horrific situation. The amount of these active shooters, we've been getting them. Hang on one second. Let me go to NBC News with they have a live report on this. Some of these stations have been going away from this, so I'll get to
The air with breaking news tonight from the Emory campus near Atlanta, where the FBI is now sending agents to help local law enforcement with the shooting at or near the campus there. A spokesperson telling NBC News. You're looking at live pictures here from the scene. A Dekalb County spokesperson telling NBC News that one of their officers was hurt in the incident and has been taken to Emory Hospital. We don't know the officer's condition as of now. The school tweeting out to continue to shelter in place in just the last couple of minutes and warning, saying active shooter on Atlanta campus near Emory Point. Run, hide, fight. Want to get right to it with Tom Winter, who's been standing by for this and following all of the developments there. What more do we know?
Right. So that refrain, obviously, now we've heard so many times and so many active shooters to run, hide, or fight, basically get away if there is an active shooter. It's not clear to us. This has either happened at or near Emory University's campus where the CDC is, and it's kind of on the border of Atlanta and Dekalb County, those jurisdictions. We do know, as you said, according to Dekalb County spokesperson, that one police officer has been injured, taken to the hospital. We don't know the condition of that officer at this time, and we don't yet know whether or not this individual is in custody or not. They are doing searches. This may have happened at a
they're a little bit behind right now. The shooter has been neutralized, has been killed. So we know that the officer has been taken to the hospital. He's in surgery right now. We do not know his condition at this moment, but there is no more shelter in place. That's been lifted by the police and by the university. So what we're waiting for is what we're waiting on is actually the press conference so we can get updated on what actually happened here, and so people can go about their lives on and around this campus.
Every agency that can get there, because again, I was told the address given to me that came out was 1500 Clifton Road.
Okay, let's pull up a map so that we get a better idea of this area that we're talking about as we're referring to Emory Point CVS. This is that Clifton Road location, and you see there are quite a number of big buildings around it. And the trees, as we hear, are in the city of the trees. This certainly is a point of challenge for any law enforcement as they are trying to find someone because it's easy to run from a very busy building into the trees. So that's why they are setting up a perimeter around.
So a lot of news stations are coming in late and really just reiterating things that we already know. If this was even an active shooting incident, apparently the shooter went near the CVS. At some point, he must have engaged with a police officer because the shooter was taken out. He was killed. There was a lot of gunfire. Apparently, the officer was also wounded, but he is in surgery right now. We do not know his condition. We do not know exactly what occurred here because there's no the press conference which they're supposed to have has not gone live yet. So we are waiting to see and waiting for more information. But as of now, there's really not a hell of a lot of information, and the information we're getting, well, the press conference should be coming any minute now. It looks like they're walking toward the parking lot where they have that set up. Let me just go to that, and as soon as the press conference starts, obviously we'll go right to it. You could see that it's the press conference is set up. When they go to it, it's anybody's guess at this point. But just give you a brief recap. At about right after 5 p.m., there was reported that there was an active shooter on or near the campus of Emory University. It was outside a CVS or perhaps inside the CVS. The active shooter was shot and killed by, we believe, a police officer. The police officer was also apparently wounded, and he is in surgery right now. But they're supposed to be going to a press conference shortly, but that hasn't occurred yet. So we're sort of at the mercy right now, awaiting information, but no one seems to have any information. So this is a fluid situation, although it's been reported that the shelter-in-place order has been lifted. So that would indicate that the danger is over at this point. Again, we have all these news stations standing by, just like I am, awaiting information. But there is no,
We're waiting to hear about that police officer. I hope he's okay.
so you can hear talking about
And
the
I
police
don't have confirmation that the shooter is dead. There's been some unconfirmed reports
Oh
floating
no!
around
Well,
about that.
again, it's all the information is sort of not timely because it has been reported that the active shooter is dead. He's no longer a threat. They lifted the shelter-in-place order, so there's no more shelter in place. So that is an indication that the threat is over right now. And another indication, of course, to that is that the shooter is dead. So they would not be calling this off if the shooter was still alive and this was an active and fluid situation. We always hear in these active shooting situations, run, hide, fight, right? Because the reason an active shooter is called that active shooter is because the person will keep shooting and keep killing until he's either neutralized, taken out, or in many cases with these active shooters, they kill themselves. But in this incident, we don't have a lot of information in regards to what is going on right now. If someone from the chat, JT Devereaux, the news networks make this such a big feud when it almost always turns into an isolated incident, or the shooter personally knowing the victims. JT Devereaux, that could be because they don't have any new information right now. We're getting the information sort of second and third hand. And a lot of times when another TV station comes on, they're giving us information that is an hour or an hour and a half late, and not the most up-to-date information. Let me go to another station that hopefully will have some new information, because so far we haven't been getting new information. We've been getting recycled old information. Let's go to this station.
We have senior reporter Patrick Quinn, who we are joining him again. Patrick, we know that you've been gathering details there on the scene. What have you been able to learn in the last few minutes since we've spoken with you?
Well, Carly, I just first saw another armed officer just run by with a long gun heading up to the scene, but we've also been able to talk with some more people who were nearby when they started to hear some shots fired. And I want to bring them in to really help break down what's going on, because a lot of it we do not know still, but these are some of our best accounts to really get a sense of how it all started and sort of what is your name?
It's Catherine Whitehill.
Catherine, nice to meet you. First, sorry to meet you on such circumstances, but you were up there, you saw some of these shots. Break down what happened.
Yeah, so I'm actually trying to go get my kids, so I was freaking out, speeding, and cars were trying to tell me not to go, and I'm like, I'm going in, and then I get up to the top, and that's where I saw a cop in the middle of the intersection. I heard the gunshots, and I saw the smoke, but
That's a parent telling me.
Their status kind of went into full effect right there. I imagine, is your child still up there?
They are, yeah. We've been getting reports that they're okay and they're safe. All
Against
that were in there.
spotty information here, some spotty reception also.
Some of the kids, their parents are in the CDC. They're also on lockdown and they're okay, so that's always good.
You're composed. How?
I've had a lot of help. We've been talking through because there's my husband's here. We've got friends here, so I was not composed at first. I was crying, but it seems like we've gotten some updates that have made me a little bit more composed. Yeah.
Remind us the scene up there. What is in that area? Obviously, that the daycare's right there. We've heard a lot about this CVS right there. We're right around Emory University. This is a busy area of Atlanta.
Yeah, this is cutting in and out, guys. I'm going to go away from this.
The hill, and it's thank goodness that Emory hasn't started yet, and so hopefully there's not a lot of students.
Look at, I mean, when you see this go by.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's freaky. I mean, like I said, I was like crying to him on the phone. He's calmed me down, but thankfully we've gotten really good reports, but that's not, it's not something we want to see when that's happening. But thankfully the alert went out and everything, but I had a coworker that went by and she's like, "Have you gotten your kids?" Because I think she heard it first, and I was like, as soon as she told me that, I was like speeding. I was getting here as fast as I could, and so it's pretty scary, and like it's not something that you ever want to experience. I didn't ever want to experience this. This is really sad, and you get nervous because there's just a lot that's going on right now, and the CDC is a target of it, and it's just really sad that that's the case, and that the fact that this is happening is just. It's just sad and ridiculous, and I hate it. And I have so many, you have.
See, we don't really know what happened here. So like to really conjecture, and I understand this woman's got children and she's nervous about that, but it's sort of that's not helping us to find out what actually happened. To conjecture that this is political in nature or whatever happened. No one knows what happened yet because we're not getting it from the horse's mouth. We're not getting it from the police. We're not getting the press conference yet. And when we get that press conference, we're all hoping that we're going to get correct information. But right now, we're not. We're not getting it. Let me see if I can get another station to come up with some accurate information because we're just sort of receiving second and third hand information, and we want up to date. And that's hard to do in a situation like this. That's fluid and confusing, but let's see what we have right here.
They're a highway patrol first and foremost. The GBI is the state's investigating agency. That's the Georgia. They have to be in. You see them on major cases like this. You see them on almost every law enforcement involved shooting. And in a moment, we are going to show you some video that we've obtained. Anastasia Olmos is going to break that down. But we do know that because of that video, there was definitely a shootout in the streets outside of that CVS with police officers taking cover and firing multiple rounds. We do know that's confirmed. And unfortunately, we also know that we've lost an officer here tonight. We've also got a suspect who is down. So we may.
Well, that's the first we've heard that the officer is deceased.
Interview, but as the governor said, that suspect was neutralized by police who were clearly stepping into the line of fire to protect the public. That's what we know right here, right now at Emory Hospital. I'm Brendan Keefe, Chief Investigator, Atlanta News First Investigates.
Brendan, thank you for that live report.
Our team coverage continues now with Atlanta News First senior reporter Patrick Quinn, who's also out there on scene. And Patrick, I'm sorry, kind of hang with us for a second, looking at these live pictures.
Blair, do you see this person in handcuffs right here in the red shirt? Do you see the person in handcuffs? We see surrounding him. He is clearly in handcuffs. It looks like he's detained. A number of officers are surrounding him. Not sure his role in this. Obviously not. We need to learn a lot more about who this person is and how he is involved, but certainly he is in handcuffs, detained by, it looks like, officers from the Atlanta Police Department. They're checking his pants right now. They're searching him as it looks right now. This white man, red shirt in the middle of your screen, brown hair. We just saw him walk out and he was escorted by roughly 10 or so officers leaving the site of the CDC. We're still trying to gather intel on who this man is. This is the first person that we have seen detained by officers today. We are certainly trying to learn more about him. He's got his back to us right now, as you can see him. And surrounding him are those officers. We'll continue to watch this scene here. This would suggest that the investigation, if this is someone involved in the shooting, obviously we have heard that one of the shooters, if there is just one, is dead. So certainly not sure this person's involvement, but we're continuing to watch this investigation play out right in front of us, right here on Clifton Road, as that person was just put into the back of a police unit. We'll continue to watch this scene closely, Blair, but I certainly wanted to alert our viewers as they are watching. This is the first person we have seen detained connected to this shooting. So we're starting to learn more about what is happening here, but that's the latest here from the scene.
And we also want to use caution, as these situations unfold. The great thing about having a team of reporters out there is that we see everything that's unfolding on scenes like this. So we don't know what that situation is about, and we expect we'll get more information when this news conference gets going. The latest information we're getting.
Okay, it looks like there's potential that the press conference could be getting underway shortly. Let's see. Well, no, the reporters are there, but doesn't look like there's anyone officially at the location. Um, a bunch of microphones set up, but we want to get the information right from the police. As you know, we're just hearing a lot of conjecture, and you can see the microphone set up for the press conference, but we're getting a lot of conjecture. All we're getting is that, and again, not verified, that the shooter is dead, a police officer is dead, and there was a lot of gunfire exchanged. So we don't have a lot of information about what actually occurred here. You know, it came in after 5 as an active shooter. We don't know, in fact, if that's the case. Is it an active shooter? And, you know, the governor was calling it that. So everyone sort of followed suit that this is an active shooting incident, but there has been no verification of that. And all of these incidents are always in flux and always changing. And so unless we get the information from the police and from a verified person involved in the investigation, we can't trust all of the information that's coming out at this point.
About 10 minutes away, right, Carly?
About 10 minutes away, we have a live image there of where the staging area is going to be. That's where our reporter, Niamani Watson, is waiting for further answers from law enforcement. And that's a great point, Blair, because we have been told so far that the suspected shooter is dead, but it is still unclear if only the suspected shooter was involved in this alleged incident today. So that is what we are hoping to learn more about. Again, just about 10 more minutes, we are told, until we can get some official word from law enforcement. This has been very fluid. Investigators have been out there trying to piece all of this together and relay the information here to us, and that's what we are waiting for.
And if you are just joining us now for our continuing coverage of this breaking news situation unfolding, the latest information we have: a gunman at the Emory University Atlanta campus killed during a Friday shooting incident. That, from the information we're getting from law enforcement officials already for some of our sources, we know that an officer, excuse me, an officer has also died after this shooting. That coming from sources who told Atlanta News First about that information. All this shooting taking place reported at Emory Point CVS, but we know that plenty of gunfire took place outside as well, as we've seen from some of the pictures, from some of the damage, from some of the witnesses who were working there at the CDC headquarters, which is not too far away. So a lot of questions about what happened leading up to this incident, what happened, you know, earlier today, what happened at the CVS that we're talking about, that Emory Point CVS. But we know now, as we show you these live pictures, a number of law enforcement officers are on that scene from the investigation that is now underway.
And we have some new sound. We have investigative reporter Anastasia Olmos standing by. She is going to come in and brief us a little bit more on Stasia, who you spoke with, and what they were able to tell you.
That's right. I was making some phone calls around to businesses in the area just to check on how people were doing, if they were on lockdown, what they saw. And I was able to speak with a local employee there at the Skinology. She said she heard the gunshots and she actually took a video from the door of her establishment, which is on the other side of the CVS in kind of a strip mall kind of parking lot area. I do want to warn our viewers that you are going to hear gunshots. You are going to see some of the officers, and it can be intense emotional moments. But go ahead and take a listen. You can see the officer there at the corner of the CVS is turning around the corner and shooting at someone or something there in the street. We do know that there have been injuries, there have been fatalities here, and so we don't know exactly if any of those gunshots did hit anyone. But I also want you to hear from her. Her name is Makia Jones. Listen to We're actually going to play that here as soon as we can get to it. But I just wanted to describe kind of what she heard there. She said it happened in 2 rounds. She said about 4 gunshots each is what she initially heard coming from somewhere on the street. So she believes that must have been in front of the CVS. And then what she recorded there happened about 5 minutes after those initial gunshots, when she says the officers engaged in a shootout with someone on the other side. We are not sure if those officers were hit at all. She said she did not see that, but she did say that it has been quiet since. None of the officers have come up to her business and spoken with them. She says she called and canceled all the rest of the appointments. And she now is just trying to kind of process what she saw and what she heard. At the time, guys, she's just feet away from this taking place, and she did not know that anybody had actually died.
Having 2 different sets of gunfire.
She initially says she heard what she believed was an automatic repeating gunshot at least twice. She believes about 4 times each, for a total of around 8 to 10 gunshots. That was the initial of what she heard. And then this video that she took was at 5:03 p.m., where she said she heard and then looked and saw the police in this shootout where you heard those gunshots there that just kind of kept going as he turned around the corner.
And Anastasia, we know you and the rest of the Investigates team helped to coordinate actually a phone interview as well with another person from a nearby business who worked at a nearby restaurant. And this is falling in line a bit with what she said, where she said she heard at least 10 gunshots. And she said she was right next to this CVS, if not maybe just a few doors down, and all of her restaurant having to essentially shelter in place, hiding in the back of the kitchen. So what I think it sounds like is consistent across all of these reports is that there were several gunshots, at least 10 gunshots or close to it.
And are you hearing most of this was outside the CVS?
Right. So initially, when we looked at the footage of the officers pointing their guns, it looked like they were pointing into the CVS. And so originally we thought the shooting had occurred inside the CVS, which we don't know, where it may have led. But she, according to what she was filming right there, they were shooting, as you could see, onto the street. Something was right there on the street. And as we know, across from that CVS is the university and the CDC building. We did see those photos of the bullet holes in the windows of the CDC. So those original shots, we're not sure exactly where those went.
And I do want to kind of give a little perspective as to what we're seeing right now. This is across from the CVS, obviously on the other side where these shops and apartments are, but it's on the other side of this CVS. That's where Clifton Road is. And if you have been joining us here on Atlanta News First since the beginning, it is on the other side that you saw almost what looked like white columns and a staircase. And that is where we saw law enforcement positioning themselves. And Blair, at one point, we saw dozens of law enforcement officers, guns drawn, approaching the entrance from the other side. So where we are appearing to see a law enforcement officer engaging with someone, or
It looks like the law enforcement officer was shooting with a guy on the side, outside of the CVS, on the side of the location. And that's where the shots were being fired, not inside the location. But that's what we're seeing on this civilian submitted video. So we don't know the source of this or what actually was going on.
something, as you said, Anastasia, inside. It was on the other side that we saw law enforcement going up the stairs and entering the CVS through that way.
Well, and we don't know what happened before that video too.
Sure.
I mean, think about how long it takes to get your phone, get your camera
Mhm.
going, take the video, and while you're hearing gunfire.
I'm looking back at my timestamps, and we started hearing about a shooting here around 5 o'clock, right? We weren't sure. We were still on air. We just weren't sure what was, reportable. But about 5:04 is when I got the first message from my management that something was going on. And if that video took place at 5:03, and the video that we saw from the chopper, that must have been well 20
well
to
after.
30 minutes after. So this would have definitely been the initial shooting that took place.
And that is why these accounts from Atlanta News First viewers are so helpful, because it helps us to sort of paint this timeline as we wait to get more word officially from law enforcement, but it allows us to paint a better picture of the scene there today.
You could see in the video, the civilian submitted video, that the officer was firing on the side of the CVS, not inside the CVS. So quite quite a confusing situation. Again, we're not seeing, we're on, I have the camera up on where the press conference is going to take place. It should be starting very soon. They said 10 minutes, but 10 minutes, we're not, let me go right to it. It seems like something's going on there. Let me get this up on the screen. Well, that's up on the screen. The press conference has not started yet, but you can see it's all set up for that. We're hoping we can get good, accurate information, a good, accurate timeline, some information on in regards to who has been shot, what the conditions are of anyone who's wounded. We know that the shelter in place has been lifted. We want to also hear, was this in fact an active shooting or was it something else? We really don't know at this point if this was an active shooting or perhaps something else. So we're gonna find out about that. But in the meantime, we're waiting for accurate information and from someone who's in the know, not someone who's just sort of repeating things that we've heard, in the past couple of hours. Well, the only thing confirmed is the shooter is dead. An officer is apparently dead, and perhaps another person wounded, but none of that has been verified by law enforcement sources.
An hour ago here in Northeast Atlanta, perhaps it was a stray bullet, but the CDC was shot at. We have pictures of the bullet holes from inside the building, showing the workspace area and the window that had been broken by that gunshot this afternoon at the CDC. So what we have reported is that this was located primarily at the CVS. Whether the shooter was standing on the sidewalk there and fired in the direction of the CDC, we do not know at this point. But the police officers, we saw that Dekalb County Police car that was riddled with bullets. That was sort of down the hill, and that's not in the direction where this building that was hit is located. Not in the direction where this building that was hit is located. That's more actually from the shooter's perspective would have been to the left across Clifton Road. So some of this is supposition, so I take that for what it's worth. But what we do know, and we'll show you the picture as soon as we have it produced here and have it our.
So again, no timely information right now. Although CNN apparently has confirmed some information in regards to the shooter, but I don't want to put it out there until I can totally verify it, because that's what a lot of people are doing. They're not giving accurate information in regards to this, and I think that's what we need is accurate information and not conjecture. So hopefully the news conference will start shortly. We're hoping. Here we go. If
we can get him back here. There he walks around the corner. I'd love to talk with you about this, Andy. I don't know if you were just this information that we're getting from CNN as a CNN affiliate.
So they're not, again,
the shooter's family, and they believe that the CDC, under the theory, may have been the target in all this.
So as I was hearing that, I was talking to the producer saying we need to figure this out. We need to find out if.
All right. Again, there's conjecture. They're saying that CNN was saying that the CDC was was the target in this alleged active shooting, which we don't even know for sure yet if it was in fact an active shooting, because no one is confirming that. But we have, maybe I can also just get CNN and go right to the horse's mouth here, but I'll see if I can pull up CNN, and then we can watch their report. Okay, let's see. I got CNN up on the screen. I'll put it up for you guys, and then we'll listen to what they're in fact saying in this case. Let's hope that theirs is also theirs is.
Shooter that agencies from around the area, not just the university police, but Atlanta police, likely the federal agents as well, would go. Again, the idea here being that you want to stop and neutralize a potential shooter before they can cause any additional harm. And so that is what we're so accustomed to seeing. What's interesting in some of this footage that we're seeing here now is that oftentimes whenever we get these helicopter shots up over these incidents, you kind of see a kind of a relaxed presence from officers, because we know that oftentimes these incidents are over quickly, sometimes seconds, sometimes even minutes. But what we're seeing here in some of these images, you can see officers still running, trying to get themselves into some type of position, potentially toward where this all went down. So this is still very much a fluid situation for law enforcement as we watch and wait to see what exactly is about to occur. Now, with the number of officers that are there on scene.
Well, he's just repeating stuff from before. It's what we really need to occur is the live press conference, which we were told was going to happen 10 minutes ago, about a half hour ago. So they're obviously not ready to do that report yet, but there's no information right now that's live on the scene. We know that the active shooting incident, the shelter in place, has been discontinued. That order has been given. We're hearing the shooter is dead. Perhaps an officer was killed in this incident. So it's difficult to really figure out what's going on right now. But as I said, the press conference was supposed to occur, and let me see if we could. It seems as if they're getting ready to do the press conference, but they've been getting ready for the last half hour, and it's. I'm at the Kroger parking lot where the press conference is supposed to take place, and there is no one ready to step up to the mic and enlighten us as to what the hell's going on here. So just a lot of news people hanging out and again repeating stuff that's been known for about 2 hours, and I certainly don't need to report stuff that we've already reported numerous times. It's, as I said, it seems like the press conferences, they're getting all set for it, but let's see if they're in the parking lot. Here we are. It's like anticlimactic here. This is where it's supposed to take place.
A stunning political twist has
Nope.
hit Texas.
That's not it. That's not the press conference we were looking for. There we go. This is where it's supposed to occur. However, there's no one on the scene other than reporters. So what we have is one active shooter who has been neutralized.
WSB also breaking news. WSB reports that a DeKalb County police officer was ambushed, shot, and killed in this incident. Again, this is WSB, which is a local news channel well known in Atlanta. They are reporting that a DeKalb County police officer was ambushed, shot, and killed. Now, I had not heard ambushed yet, but that is what they're reporting.
So again, that would change things. That would be it wouldn't be a active shooter.
That's unconfirmed, but that is from
Again, so he's putting it out
WSB.
there. I don't know if you should put it out there if it's
Well,
unconfirmed.
hold on a second. What's happening? 5 minutes.
All of your master controls, all your assignment editors to let them know. Again, I will say this. We will start with questions and we will go around. We will not do the barrage of questions at one time because I know you all have several questions. We ask that you please don't ask the same question that's already been asked because it becomes a
It's saying now on the screen, the report is that the shooter targeted the CDC building over the COVID vaccine. So that's also right now not confirmed. There's a lot of unconfirmed information out there. And again, the only way to get clear, accurate information is to listen to who's going to present at this press conference. Now, was this in fact an active shooting, or was this an ambush of a police officer, which led to a barrage of gunfire whereby the shooter was killed and so was the police officer, unfortunately? And are there any other people wounded? These are some of the questions we have. We know that the shelter in place has been taken down, that the area is still very active. However, they're saying that the threat no longer exists. The media is on the scene. The police are on the scene. We are awaiting the press conference in the Kroger parking lot so we can get really accurate information. And it's being reported that he was targeting the CDC building because of the COVID vaccine. I mean, we're hearing all these political reasons for these shootings, going back to Luigi Mangione in New York City, who allegedly shot and killed the CEO of United Healthcare over the fact that he felt that United Healthcare was not paying on claims that people put in to have their health care. Just recently in New York City, an active shooter went there and killed 5 people in regards to blaming the NFL for CTE, which is a concussion syndrome. And that was why he did that. D.D. Robert, hey, Bill, remember when we were little kids and saw other kids with leg braces because of polio and the people who had to live in an iron lung because of polio? Yes, D.D. Robert, I do remember that. I do remember kids with those braces because of polio. And now polio is a thing of the past because of the Salk vaccine, right? Dr. Jonas Salk. We're hoping that this press conference gets started so we won't have to conjecture anymore. We could give you the actual truth. No more rumors. And we're awaiting the police representatives to approach the microphones so we can get this the press conference underway and we can get accurate information. There's a hell of a lot of news reporters on the scene. We don't see anyone in authority that looks like they're going to approach the microphones, and it seems like there's some activity there. Here we go. There's someone they're coming to the scene now. Let me get it up on the screen, and then we could all watch this together.
Good evening. My name is Andre Dickens. I'm the mayor of the city of Atlanta. I'm joined here today by Atlanta Police Department Chief Shearbaum, Atlanta Fire Rescue Chief Smith, as well as FBI SAC Brown to my right, and the DeKalb County PIO Officer Wells. We're just a few of the individuals and teams that are here that's been on scene for the last 2 hours, as I've witnessed the coordination amongst many of this active shooter incident that occurred today on the campus of Emory University, just off site of the CDC and next to this CVS pharmacy. This active shooter incident started this afternoon, and Chief Shearbaum will give you some of the details regarding that. I witnessed over the last 2 hours a very coordinated response. A lot of training had to go into how these men and women of Emory University, Dekalb County Police, the FBI, the City of Atlanta Police, Fire and Rescue from both DeKalb and the City of Atlanta, the GBI, Georgia State Patrol. I saw officers coming from all over to be able to respond to this incident. At this time, Chief Shearbaum will give you more of the details, but at this time, the shooter is deceased, and we don't have any civilians that have been shot in this active shooter incident. Thank God for that. We do have a DeKalb County officer that was also shot. And at this very moment, the CEO of DeKalb County, Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as the police chief of DeKalb County, are at the hospital right now, meeting and talking with individuals, the families, and other officers that were involved having to respond to this emergency situation. They will shortly come to this very same spot to give a press conference and an update on that officer and that incident. And at this time also, on the CDC's campus, there are 92 children that are in a daycare that is on this campus. They are safe, and we are setting up with the CDC and all connected parties to be able to get those families reunited with those children at a local school very nearby. And we have the address of that. That Chief will give you the specific address and name of that school nearby. So we are working to unify families. And at this time, there have been no civilian casualties, but this was an active shooter incident. The shooter is now deceased. The campus is, there are no threats on the campus currently, but we still have an active investigation. Atlanta Police Department will be the investigating party. And so we ask that while things are safe, that you don't drive in that part of campus, because we need to make sure that the investigation goes through without any obstruction. Again, to the men and women that work at the CDC, we know that you've had a tough go of it in the past year, and my heart goes out to you as uncertainty was around your occupation and you being citizens of Atlanta. That means something to me. And then today, this occurs. We are with you, we stand with you, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we bring resolve to the situation. And FBI SAC Brown, he may be able to tell you more about some of the windows that might have been shot on various floors of the CDC as gunfire did take place. The other thing is, to those parents of those 92 children that are at the CDC, I'm a parent as well. I know your uncertainty and your fear and your concern has been high. We wanted to come give you this message that all the children are safe and that we will be making sure that you get reunited with them as soon as possible. I know your heart is just really, really aching, but the good news is none of them have been injured, and we will get you connected to those, to your loved ones really soon. I'll come back to this microphone after others will be given a chance to speak. Now I turn it over to Chief Darren Shearbaum, as Atlanta Police Department has been in coordination with all the other outstanding agencies as we've been working together. And this is why we train on active shooter drills, et cetera, around this region. This has been a group project and a coordinated effort. And Darren Shearbaum, the Atlanta Police Chief, will now address you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just give you an update and some additional information what the mayor provided. So this afternoon at approximately 4:50, the Atlanta 911 Center became aware of a report of an active shooter that was occurring at 1600 Clifton Road. This is right at the intersection of Clifton Road and CDC Parkway, immediately in front of the CDC campus. Officers from multiple agencies responded, from the campus, across the region, from our federal partners and our state partners responded to the scene. Officers arriving found a critically injured Dekalb County police officer that was down. He was immediately extracted from the scene and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers could still hear gunfire occurring inside the CVS drugstore that is right there at the intersections. Officers moved quickly to attempt to find the shooter and to neutralize the threat to the community. We later found the shooter on the second floor of the CVS. He had been struck by gunfire. We do not know at this time whether that was from officers or if it was self-inflicted. He was removed from the location by Atlanta Fire Rescue to render aid. He did pass at the scene. We also know that the CDC campus did receive multiple rounds into their buildings. Right now, as the mayor stated, we are not aware of any injury that occurred to anyone on that location. 4 other individuals did later arrive at the hospital. They were retreated for stress and anxiety symptoms. They were not injured in the shooting. And to reemphasize what the mayor stated, the children in the daycare center are unharmed. We have law enforcement and medical professionals with them, and we are coordinating the return of those children to their families. We've already put this out. We want to reemphasize it. The CDC leadership is communicating this to all parents, but the reunification site is at the Clifton School, which is located at 1900 Starvine Way, Starvin Way in Decatur. And we want to again reassure all parents and loved ones that their children are okay. We do believe there was a single shooter, and we do believe that single shooter is deceased. Right now, the investigation is being conducted by the Atlanta Police Department's Complex Case Squad, by the GBI and the FBI in a joint investigation until we know more information as to what transpired. The Atlanta Police Department is lifting up the DeKalb County officer, the DeKalb County Police Department in our prayers, and I ask everyone that is watching this broadcast to do the exact same thing. And I want to commend the men and women of law enforcement from all across this region that when this community needed them, no one shirked from the danger. And every officer from multiple districts responded and immediately moved to end this threat. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Brown, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Atlanta Division. And like the Chief and the Mayor said, we immediately responded to the scene. At this time, we're not aware of any casualties on the campus of the CDC, but in conjunction with our partners, we're methodically clearing that to ensure that that is accurate and that is remains so. And then once that's done, we'll assist with processing the scene and conducting the investigation jointly with our partners.
Mayor, Chief, we'll get ready for questions. We'll start on this side. We may not be able to get to everyone, but we'll start with you, Rob, over to the mayor's right.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Is it believed right now that the CDC was targeted in this attack?
Well, I'll let Chief Sherbaum ask anything around the investigation. He'll be able to answer that. But right now, it's so preliminary. I read social media and I get calls from a number of you that have heard things about this individual's background. He's a white male, and he has he is a known person that may have some interest in certain things that I can't reiterate right now with any confidence until the investigation is fully conducted. But I think that in a short order, you'll know more about this individual and about some assumptions of his motives, but can't say right now.
All right.
Can you tell us anything more about the suspect? What kind of weapon did he use? How many rounds went into the CDC building?
Chief,
Not yet. We can tell you multiple rounds were fired. We can tell you that multiple rounds were fired, both we believe at law enforcement and potentially at the CDC. Purposely, we can't say it definitively, but it would appear we can't rule that out right now.
Is that CVS a two-story store, or was he in some other kind of place above the store?
We believe it's a multiple-story building, but he was on the second floor of the building that houses the CVS.
Does he have a criminal record?
We can't release that at this time.
Did the man live in that building?
Allow me to let someone else ask a question. Anyone over here from New York Times?
So this shooting comes on the heels of a few other high-profile shootings, including the one at Fort Stewart, including numerous on Edgewood and some other neighborhoods. I'm curious, to what extent can the city confront what seems to be a rash of gun violence without state-level intervention?
So your question around a number of high-profile shootings, Fort Stewart, here at Emory, and others across the nation and in the state of Georgia, is definitely one that we have to pay attention to. Mass shootings, active shooter scenarios should not become the norm. We have a number of individuals in this country that have access to high-powered weapons. And for individuals with those high-powered weapons that may have mental challenges, or those individuals with high-powered weapons that are angry, when they choose to use those weapons in a way that harms multiple people, we have to put an end to that in our society. So this is something we do have to have a national and a state, a full conversation across the nation and across the state of Georgia, not just in one city. As you see, this is a coordinated effort across DeKalb, across college campuses, the FBI, the GBI. As you see active shooters across the nation, we've just been added to the statistic.
You said right here in black shirt.
Thank you.
Allow her.
We're hearing that the officer passed away. You say he was critically injured. Did he pass away?
Well, at this time, it is a DeKalb County officer, and we want to make sure that DeKalb County is able to respond to what's going on with that officer. We know that he was shot and critically injured, and at this time, as I stand here, I can't give you that information that you just asked. We have the PIO of DeKalb County here, and as I said, in short order, you will hear from the DeKalb County Chief and the DeKalb County CEO.
All right, over here.
Can I ask, why was the DeKalb officer there? I know this area is kind of on that border, but just talk about that, maybe Chief Sherbaum or you, Mr. Mayor.
I want to talk about how mutual aid and how we're all kind of together.
This is an area that is part of the city limits, but inside of DeKalb County, so it's not uncommon for patrol patterns to cross for multiple jurisdictions that may share the space. We don't know why the officer was there. Was he going to work? Was he coming home from work? We don't know if he was on patrol. We will know that at the end of the investigation.
Hang on, Brian.
Did you want to give an update?
So we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter. Yes. Yes, we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
Can you give an update on the condition? There have been several media reports that he's passed away or she.
So we can't confirm that at this time. Like Mayor said previously, our interim chief Pedrick will be here to provide an update. I just don't have that information readily available.
So we are, both chief and mayor, if we can, we're getting reports that maybe the suspect who was known had some issues with the CDC because he was upset about COVID vaccine. He thought it made him sick. Is there any way you guys can maybe address that, and maybe if he was targeting the CDC because of the vaccine?
We cannot confirm at this time. This is in the earliest stages of the investigation. The same questions you have, law enforcement has. And so everything that is the question of the nation, we're going to get the answer to, and we'll be able to report back as soon as we can.
Univision.
Yeah. We're hearing this maybe for the cab, but was this officer a rookie officer? We heard basically he was ambushed a little bit when he actually arrived on scene.
So any information about the officer will come from interim chief Pedrick later this evening, including his status and how long he was with the department.
All right. Is the white car with the trunk open and shot up, is that connected to the suspect?
It's part of the crime scene at this time. We can't confirm if it was the car that the suspect drove, but it is being searched by the police and it's being held as evidence.
We're going to take the last question right here.
Do you guys have a timeline of when the gunfire was called in and how quickly officers responded and how quickly the suspect was essentially?
4:50 p.m. is when the first call came in. Law enforcement arrived very, very quickly thereafter. Oftentimes when officers arrive, they're so quickly engaged in the scene they can't radio out. So we'll be reviewing all video to determine when the first officers arrived. But the response was from multiple agencies. I wish I could name everyone right now, but the citizens of the Atlanta region should be proud of their law enforcement today.
Yeah, as Chief stated, this was a coordinated effort. When I was here around 5:15 or so, I was seeing not only DeKalb County and Atlanta, we were seeing Gwinnett County. We saw officers from Dunwoody. We saw, of course, Emory, the FBI, GBI, Georgia State Patrol. Everyone was responding because there were shots being fired, calls for shot being fired right there in front of the CDC, and then shots fired inside of the CVS. And so you're hearing, everyone responded. It was hundreds of officers as well as fire rescue. And at this time, we've spoken with Emory President Finvez, as well as all of the individuals at the CDC, the leadership there, and the leadership of DeKalb County, et cetera. Everyone will continue to give updates throughout this evening. This very same spot will be utilized by DeKalb County as they return from the hospital really soon, as they're talking with families. And as more information becomes available that we can share about the suspect that is now deceased, we will make sure that we share that because we want you to know the mindset, what might have led to this so that we never have it happen again. We want right now to give this update that the area is clear, no threats continue to exist, and we're going to start reuniting families with those children that are in that daycare. And again, the campus has the all clear sign. Stay out of that area right there in front of the CDC and where the CVS is, because it is an active investigation that's being led by APD in coordination with FBI, GBI, and of course with DeKalb County there. That's it at this time.
Thank you, everyone. For any updates, please make sure you follow the Atlanta Police Department social media. That's where we will have updates. That's also where we will let you know where we will have our next press conference, and we'll also try to send an email. Thank you, everyone.
That was a horrible press conference. First of all, the chief should have been the lead guy, not the mayor. Right? The mayor just seemed like he wanted FaceTime. There was no information on the shooter. They have his name. They have his pedigree. They know his criminal what? No information. No information on who he is. No information on his criminal history. No information on his mental history. No information on the timeline of when this occurred. And most importantly, no information on the condition of the wounded officer, which it seems, because they weren't willing to give it out, that he may be deceased. So all the news reporters know that, but they can't report it because in this press conference, they never said anything. The lead officer, the chief, should have been up there for 10, 15, 20 minutes disseminating all the information that he had. And don't even open up the questions, because you don't have enough information to be answering a lot of questions from the press until the information is verified. Put the information out there, and after you provide the information, say, the information I have just given you is preliminary and subject to change. This way, no news reporter or anyone can find fault with what you said, because you don't know everything yet. But I don't know that much more from that press conference than I knew before it, which is a bad feeling, which shows that law enforcement did not do a good job in regards to the dissemination of information. The almost zero new information they gave out. Anyway, folks, that's going to be our report. There will be further press conferences tonight on this active shooting. Apparently, the target of it was the Center for the Disease Control, something about the COVID vaccine, that the shooter got sick from it. It's political. So all of that information really needs further investigation. But the shooter, who was unnamed, and they fully know who he is, unnamed, is dead. A Dekalb County police officer, they just said he was critically wounded, but appears he may also be deceased. They didn't name him either. They couldn't answer whether he was on patrol, whether he just happened to be in that area, whether he was in uniform, whether he was in plainclothes. So very little information. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Have a great night, everyone, and God bless.
One episode, just saying enough.